Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about 7 tips for driving for the first time. In this video, I'll be going over 7 simple pieces of advice that will help you if you're driving for the first time and you're just starting to learn to drive. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. Tip number 1 is to get comfortable. Now, when you're driving, you should be comfortable so that it will allow you to drive in a safer manner. Now, this means adjusting the seat, adjusting the headrest, adjusting your posture, adjusting your steering wheel, and adjusting the mirrors and everything else that might contribute to how you feel when you're driving. Get comfortable, wear comfortable clothes, and create a comfortable environment while you're driving. That's one of the best things that you can do to start off. And all of that happens before you even start the engine. All of these adjustments can take place before you start the engine or after you start the engine, but before you actually start driving. Tip number 2, calm down. Now, it's 100% normal to feel nervous or anxious when you're learning to drive and before you drive for the first time, or even for the first 20 times that you drive. It's completely normal to feel really nervous and really anxious. But what I encourage you to do is try to calm down. So whatever you can do to calm your nerves down, to get rid of that anxiety feeling, you want to do that. Whether it's meditating, whether it's drinking a glass of water, whether it's going and taking a shower, whatever the case is, you want to take the appropriate steps to calm down. And for each person, it's going to be a different thing, but I recommend whatever you do to calm down, maybe it's reading a book, whatever it is that you do to calm down, make sure you try and calm down before your driving lesson and before you first drive for the first time, just because it's going to help you substantially, because a calmer driver is, generally speaking, going to be a better driver than someone that's nervous and anxious. Tip number 3, start slow. Now, if you're driving for the first time, you obviously can't expect to just get up to the highway speeds and drive on main roads and so forth. Imagine learning to drive like a ladder. You got to start off at the first rung all the way at the bottom, and then you got to work your way up. The first rung at the bottom, the first step, is driving in an empty parking lot, taking small steps. Then maybe you're going to move on to a side street that in a no traffic situation, when there's no traffic at a very odd time of the day. Then maybe you're going to move on to a main road when there's no traffic. Then maybe a side street with traffic, main road with traffic, highway with 1 exit, highway 5 exits. You just got to start slow and keep building it up. So don't try and climb to the top of the ladder the first time that you're driving, but instead start slow and work your way up. Tip number 4, practice specific skills. Now, when you drive for the first time, for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, you're just going to be getting a feel for the car. But as soon as you're comfortable actually holding that wheel and turning the wheel and pushing the pedals, you want to practice specific skills. So you want to do what I like to call skill drills, which are just practicing specific skills over and over and over again. If you're driving a manual car, if you're learning how to drive a manual car, just practice starting in first over and over and over again. If you're driving an automatic car, practice just starting smoothly over and over and over again, stopping smoothly. Go ahead and make 20 right-hand turns in an empty parking lot. Then make 20 left-hand turns in an empty parking lot. And just continue doing that. You want to practice specific skills, because when you're driving, it's really just a combination of many different skills that are being used in conjunction with each other. So by practicing specific skills, you're going to give yourself some practice that you wouldn't regularly get if you were just driving around on the streets. Tip number 5 for driving for the first time is don't assume anything. Now, many new drivers, treat driving in the same way that they treat walking on the sidewalk. They assume that people are going to do certain things, right? So when you're walking on the sidewalk, you can assume that this person is going to stay to the left or to the right or whatever the case is, and most likely that's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, you have enough time to move quickly, and you probably won't get hurt even if it doesn't happen. But when you're driving, it's a different situation, because if you assume something and that doesn't happen, it can cause an accident, and you want to avoid accidents at all possible times. So with that being said, don't assume anything, okay? Never assume things while you're driving. Tip number 6, be predictable. You want to make sure that you remain predictable, okay? And that's because if other people assume things about you while you're driving, you don't want to cause an accident, or you don't want them to cause an accident with you. Whether it is your fault or it's not your fault, you don't want to get into an accident. So that's why you want to be predictable. So make sure that you're starting and stopping smoothly. You're putting your signal on well in advance so people know what you're doing. And everything is nice and gradual and smooth. You're not making any aggressive gestures to steer in one direction or accelerate or brake or whatever the case is. Last but not least, tip number 7 is work your way up to worse road conditions. Now, when you're first starting to drive, you want to drive in ideal road conditions. Dry roads, nice, beautiful day, no rain, no snow, no ice, barely any wind, no fog, that kind of situation. But then what you want to do is you want to work your way up and build your way up to these road conditions that are not as ideal. And that's because you don't want to go and learn how to drive, and every time that you drive, it's a perfect day. And then what happens is you get your license, but you don't know how to drive in the snow, or in the wind, or in the fog, or in the ice, or in the rain, or at night, whatever the case is. So start off in an ideal road condition, but make sure that you get some practice in road conditions that are worse. Work your way up to road conditions that are not ideal, that are far from ideal. And that's basically it. In this video, I've gone over 7 tips for driving for the first time. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. What are some other tips for driving for the first time? Let me know as a comment down below. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.